Hey y'all! Today we are building a high school in The Sims 4 here in the new world of Copperdale, which came with the new High School Years expansion pack. This pack has been out since July, kind of like end of July, so it's been out for 2 months, give or take, and I've been working on this build here on and off for about a month, I want to say. And it's taken me quite a while to finish this build here, mostly because this lot is massive. This high school lot is, I want to say 64 by 64 tiles, which is like the biggest lot size if I'm not mistaken, and it has taken me forever to fill this up. I never build on lots this big. I love like those lots in Newcrest that are like 10 by 15 tiles. That's more my go-to. So this was really different and it took me a while, but I am very pleased with the way that it came out, and I was super excited a few days ago when I finally finished it. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God it's over. And also I was just excited to like get on here and, you know, do my voiceover and post it and show everyone. Yeah. But anyway, you can sort of see now that the shape of this building has really started to come together. I do add a few more pieces here and there, but you can definitely get an idea at this point of the vision, what I was going for, what the shape's gonna be. I really wanted this building to be quite modern. Mostly because the new High School Years pack came with this beautiful wallpaper, this mint one that I've just placed there, that I really wanted to be like a key part of this build. And you will see it very much is a big part of this build. But I thought that color would go way better with a modern look than like a more traditional high school. So that is the look that I was really trying to go for. As you can see, the shape of this build is really boxy with a lot of different like squares basically, which I think is pretty modern. It's actually quite reminiscent of the high school that I went to back in the day. But yeah, it's 3 stories, but I do use a lot of platforms as well to sort of like bring your eye to different levels. So in that way, there's not just like 3 levels, there can be like a little bit more variation, if that makes sense. As far as color scheme goes, I touched on this a little bit, but it's very white, and then it has some of those like minty accents that I love. I especially like this sort of archway piece, kind of like a statement piece that I did at the front there. That's just like minty. I made that out of platforms, and then I also add another minty accent over to the left there with that bus shelter that just came with the pack. I don't remember if that's a real object or if that's like a live edit object, but I remember when I saw it I was like, oh, that is so cute, I like have to use it, especially since we have this yellow school bus parked out front. I just thought a bus shelter would be perfect. I've also begun working on this outdoor space a little bit, adding some activities. I added a basketball court, as you may have seen in the front there, that came from City Living. Now I'm adding a little track and field sort of hurdles area using this really small fence that came from Get to Work as the lines to sort of like define those lanes, and then I fill them with hurdles that came from the high school pack. And then here I am using that same Get to Work fence again to outline some lines here of like a football field. I don't know what these are called. I want to say yard lines, but I'm really not a sports person, so I tried to do, you know, the football lines. And the football field is not functional, I don't think, but the cheerleading mat that I placed in the center there is. So there's a place for your Sims to practice cheerleading if that is their hobby of choice. You also may have noticed that I added a second building sort of behind the high school that we haven't quite worked on much yet, but we'll get there in just a second, and that building is going to be a dormitory. So that might be a little weird. I guess this is a boarding school of sorts, but I really wanted to try out some of the new bedroom like furniture that came with the new pack. There's so many cute beds and so many cute just like decorations, and I don't know, I just thought it would be so much fun to make a few dorms back here and decorate them using the new items, and then if you wanted to, you could have your Sims stay on this lot and live here. Technically, this lot can't be your Sims' residence, but if you just have them come to school and never leave, then they can sleep here if they want. So that's totally up to you how you want to use this build. Like, I was thinking gameplay wise, you could just use this as a regular high school, and then it would be kind of handy that there's like dorms with beds in case your Sims get tired, or like a kitchen in case they get hungry, you know. Or you could delete the dormitory altogether. Or if you want to have a little fun, you could lean into the boarding school thing. You could even make a household with like a bunch of teens in it who are all going to high school, have them come to this lot, assign them each a dorm, and then just have them live here the whole time. And so like that could be fun gameplay wise. But again, up to you, whatever you like. In a second here, we are going to be heading on into the interior of the main building and sort of start figuring out color scheme and furnishing and all of that fun stuff. So I start here in this front hallway space. I am thinking this is like a gathering area, you know, lockers, little seating space, you know, entryway. It's pretty straightforward. But as far as color scheme goes, the interior is like very similar to the outside in that it's very white, very modern, and like a little bit of these mint accents. Actually, a lot of these mint accents. But I do soften the color scheme a little bit by adding my favorite wallpaper ever. It's called Pretty in Plaster. It's from the base game, and it's like this gorgeous sort of warm pinky toned painted over brick. There it is. I've placed it behind those lockers. And then I also add a warmer flooring. It's from Spa Day, and I feel like these things just kind of help soften the color scheme. Like I said, like it's not too cold anymore, but at the same time it doesn't take too much away from that modern vibe. It's still very much modern, but just a little more cozy. So the idea behind the vibe of this high school that I was going for was sort of a quirky modern high school that does things differently on purpose, if that makes sense. My high school was kind of like that, so I'm drawing a lot of inspiration from there. Like my high school had these sort of quirky touches, like aesthetically. There was a lot of bright orange and bright green. There was like funny, quirky furniture. Like we had these rolly stools in the hallway that you could like roll around on. So I tried to sort of like take inspiration from that, as you can see here with the poof seating. I mean, only a certain type of high school has poof seating, I feel like. So if you notice a few like little odd touches here and there, like a little quirky, I'm using that word too much, but if you notice some weird quirky touches here and there, that is kind of the reasoning behind that. But yeah, a lot of that goes back to my own high school experience and them just doing things differently, almost for no good reason. Like instead of having like an A plus, A minus, B, you know, like that sort of grading system, we had a totally different one. It was like the top grade was exemplary, then skilled, then competent, adequate, and then basic. And then if you failed, they wouldn't say you failed, they would say you were not meeting. So it was kind of funny because you could come back from an assignment and get like an A plus on it and you think you aced it, but really you just got an adequate, which is like the equivalent of like a 60. So yeah, I came from a very quirky high school and it was fun, it was silly. Yeah, that's the vibes I'm going for. And I rambled right through decorating the first washroom, but it was pretty straightforward. I was actually kind of excited to use those new bathroom stalls because they come in this like really cute mint swatch that I've been talking about way too much, but that's kind of a funny thing to say. Like, I was so excited to use the new bathroom stalls, but it's who I am. I was excited to use the bathroom stalls. And now I'm just finishing up this sort of cafeteria space. Pretty straightforward. There's some seating, some places to get food at the cafeteria bar, and then at these vending machines as well. I also place a few computers around just in case your Sims want to get some work done here or whatever. And now we are moving on into the pool space. So I add some lockers in here. I feel like that's realistic, just to like put your swim stuff in and all of that. I actually changed the pool to be like the school color, like that minty swatch, by changing the floor and the walls to this like kind of glow in the dark wallpaper and flooring that came from Spa Day. So I was kind of pleased with myself when I did that. I was like, ooh, the pool is the school color. That's kind of fun. But yeah, just adding some pool stuff, some towels, life preserver, all that good stuff. But yeah, I really just wanted this school to have a lot of activities so that your Sim could like have any hobby they wanted really, and you could do that sort of gameplay aspect of like, oh, they're on the swim team and they could like come here and swim laps every day or whatever. You know, I also added, like, you saw those hurdles outside, the football field, the cheerleading mat, and I'm gonna add a bunch more later too. So I just really wanted to make sure, like I said, that your Sims can do whatever activity they want. And then here I add some showers, just for your Sim to rinse off after swimming. I hope your Sims are smart enough not to actually use those because they will get embarrassed because they're out in the open. But Sims are dumb, so they might do it anyway. I don't know. I did add some actual closed-in private showers in the bathroom as well, so hopefully your Sims will be smart enough to go there instead. But anyway, I have moved on to this space, which will actually be the principal's office. This is really where the quirky vibe, I feel like, shines through the most. Just because I feel like the principal would be like the one kind of instigating the quirky vibes. I felt like their office really had to kind of embody that. So I add like some comfy couches. I think I add a fish tank and stuff, and like some seating and like a fun rug. Like no principal's office I've ever seen, not even at my school, has ever been this quirky, I don't think. But yeah. Also, I have some beef with the Sims team that I would like to talk about. That desk right there that I've placed, that is the only principal's desk available. When you click on the lot to get like the required items, it says principal's desk, and this is the only one available. And it's so boring and like not principal-y. Like, why is this the only principal's desk? I don't know. I just feel like that was like a huge mistake on their part because it's just like so tiny and just like pitiful. Anyway, that's my beef with the Sims team. Moving on to the first classroom. This classroom is pretty straightforward. I place the desks down in rows. I only add 8 desks, which isn't really realistic for an actual classroom. I feel like my classes had at least like 20 to 30 students, but 8 is good for the Sims, I think. And then I just keep the desks simple with this sort of like creamy white swatch, but then I add the really fun chairs for like that pop of color. I add a little reading nook here at the back with like some cute little boho cozy chairs. That's another one of those little quirky touches that I've been hyping up so much. You know, just like cozy seating in the classroom. I feel like that's a nice little homey touch. And then I add some storage back here for books and stuff. And I go through and look for some wall decorations, posters, this cork board, and I just look for anything that I think is like academic-y but doesn't totally ruin the color scheme either. So I go with like this little space poster. Maybe they're learning about the planets, I don't know. This one has a prism on it. I remember learning about lights and rainbows and holding up a prism to the light. Granted, I was in like grade 3 when I did that, but you know, you could do it in high school, why not? And now we are moving on upstairs and we are going to work on this little gym area. So as you can see, I've used a curved wall piece here. I think this is actually the first time that I've ever built with a curved wall. And it went okay. It wasn't as glitchy as I thought it would be. I'd heard from a lot of people that it was really glitchy, so I was a little nervous, but it worked out just fine. And for some reason, a curved wall gives me gym vibes. I think because the YMCA at like near my house growing up had this big curved like wall piece that had like a running track along it and a lot of glass, so as you drove by you could see like people jogging and stuff. So yeah, for that reason the gym had to be here, but pretty straightforward. Some treadmills, some workout equipment. I even add a few yoga mats, which is fun, and then I add this little bathroom off to the side which has some towels, hampers, and showers. So I feel like that's pretty realistic. And then here we are moving on into the computer lab. I kept this space pretty minimal and modern. I use this bar height table from university and I place some computers on there. I add some cute neon signs, and that's about it. As far as the art studio goes, this space is not minimal. It is very, very cluttered. This is probably the most cluttered area in the whole high school, and it almost doesn't really fit with the rest of the build for that reason. But the inspiration behind this room is actually kind of funny. My fiance, before we moved in together, he was living with a roommate, lovely guy, art student, but so messy. Their apartment was full, absolutely full of finished paintings. Like at a certain point they had to get rid of their couch because they needed room for more paintings. And there was paint splattered all over the floor, there were sculptures everywhere, it was really messy, and like it was, honestly, it was a really fun vibe. And like I don't think I could have lived with that just because I'm kind of like, I kind of get a little worked up about mess and I prefer my space to be like a little cleaner than that, but it worked perfectly fine for them and it made for some great inspiration for my art studio. So anyway, now we are working on this hallway space. It's really similar to the hallway space downstairs, using those same mint lockers as well as the same curtains. They're from Get to Work. I use the same seating as well. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I use these couches from university, and just like in the mint swatch, it doesn't match perfectly to the high school years swatches, but it's pretty close. And then I add some pillows by sizing down this chair and sort of like shoving it into the couch. So they kind of look like pillows. They're not perfect, but I really just liked the idea of like adding a little bit more detail here and there. I add some school banners for some school spirit, and I add these poofs around, of course. Those are like integral to the vibes. And then in this space here, I wanted to try and add some like mini lockers. So I sized them down and like stack them on top of each other. This is right outside of the gym space, if you couldn't tell. So I thought these could be like a place for your Sims to like lock up their gym stuff. They're not functional because I've sized them down so much, but just like a cute little decoration touch. And this is our second classroom. I decided to lay the desks out in groups this time, in little groups of 4. I used the same swatches, those plain desks with the more exciting chairs, and then I add like some laptops here and there and some clutter. You know, I'm realizing now there are probably so many computers and laptops in this build, like in both classrooms, in the cafeteria, the computer lab. I'm gonna add a few more when I do the library in a little bit, so there's probably like a lot of computers. Maybe like if someone can count how many computers there are and let me know in the comments, I'll highlight your comment or something. But here we are moving on into the library space. I decided to go with these Get to Work bookcases in this plain white swatch. I feel like they were like, just like not too colorful that they were like gonna clash with the color scheme, but just colorful enough that they weren't super boring. I also felt like it was just modern enough to fit the vibes, but like not too modern that it would like make the library weird, if that makes sense. Anyway, I've definitely overthought these bookshelves, but I was very pleased with my choice. I also add a bunch of seating, some poofs, some desks with computers on them, and then a bunch of beanbag chairs as well, which is another thing. Another thing I have beef with, my second beef with the Sims team. Why did they make the swatches for the beanbag chairs so weird? Like, the mint swatch that I used is great. I understand why they added that one. It goes with the color scheme of the pack. It's great, but like, why did they not add a cute pink swatch? And why did they not add more neutral swatches? Like, if we had a neutral beanbag, we could use it in like any kid's room ever. It would be a staple. It would be perfect. I don't know. I feel like they did it on purpose, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if in like a few months they come out with a different pack that like has like a beanbag chair, but this time with some neutral swatches, and then we all have to buy it. I don't know. I'm suspicious. Anyway, now we're moving on to this next room. It's sort of like a general activity room. I tried to shove as many club activities in here as I possibly could. So there's some musical instruments, some photography studio, and a few other things. Yeah, I thought about adding chess down here, but I decided to make a separate chess club area up here on the third floor. So this space is kind of fun. It has like a little seating area, some chess tables, as I said, and a little washroom. So this, weirdly enough, is my favorite washroom in the whole build. For some reason, I just love the way that it turned out, like with the windows back there, and like there's not really space for much back there by the window, but I do add like a little plant in a second. I think that's like a cute touch. And I use these sinks from Dream Home Decorator, and I add those little paper towels and soap from Get to Work. And I don't know if you saw that, but I add some graffiti that's like in the school colors. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, there's someone who's vandalizing the school, but like they have enough school spirit that they do it on theme at least. Anyway, I just thought that was silly, but here I am adding some chess tables. I think I add a total of 6 chess tables. I add a few last little touches, a mural from the Industrial Loft kit, and some plants and stuff. And now we are working on the second building, the dormitory building. I connected it to the main building using a little bridge or tunnel area. Back there, as you can see, I decorate this hallway using the new sofa from the new Desert Luxe kit. You can probably tell that at this point in my building process, the kit had just come out because I used them in the chess room and now I'm using them again in here. I can't help it. When there's a new item, I just get super excited and I use it way too much. I add a little side table here with like a plant and those chairs from Eco Lifestyle that I think are cute. And then I start working on this first dorm up here. I love this bed from the new kit. It is super cute. It's got like princess vibes almost. It's this really cute bed frame that I think I would have loved, especially when I was like a little kid. It really spoke to me. I also liked this swatch because it like had that mint vibe that I've been going for, but also like a touch of warmth with the pillows. So I tried to lean into that by like adding some pink warm accents in here, the curtains, the poster, the keyboard on that computer even. I also add a little mini fridge, which I think is like, I don't know, that can be a lifesaver living in a dorm. I also add some cute little fairy lights, and at the desk there, I don't know if you noticed, but I added that really, really cute chair that came from Parenthood. It's like adorable, and I just think it like is a perfect accent chair for almost any room. But yeah, I really wanted to make all of these dorms really different and like cute and give different vibes, because I feel like when you move out of your parents' house, especially if this is like a high school, it might be like your first time to sort of like express your personality and your tastes and like decor and like, you know, it's like a fresh start with a new bedroom and you can make it anything you want. So I really wanted to like make each of them really cute and realistic. Like when I was living in dormitories in my first year of university, I don't know, some of my friends had like the cutest rooms. Mine was cute too, like I had this cute little green cactus bedspread and like I got a few like green accents here and there. But some of the people on my floor had like these adorable rooms with like matching furniture and gorgeous curtains and posters and stuff. So some people go all out. This second dorm is for 2 students. I used 2 of these loft beds from Dream Home Decorator with the matching desks underneath. And then I actually use the Desert Luxe curtains in a swatch that I feel like matches this wood tone perfectly. I had a lot of fun cluttering up this room as well. Like I add some toiletries and some like get ready stuff here on the dressers. I add like some plants and some sporting equipment. I even size down a teddy bear and put it on one of the beds, which I think is cute. Like you bring your teddy bear to your dorm. And as far as this third dorm goes, it's a very neutral color scheme. It's very white, a few cream accents, and a bit of green here and there, but it's very, very plain. I just thought it would be fun to make these dorms as different as possible to show the different personalities. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was going for. I really like this desk from the new kit, and I especially like this swatch because it has this like really pale green accent that I think is super cute. Oh, and I used that beautiful mirror that came from the Werewolves pack. I absolutely love that mirror. It's like a moon shape, and I always find it hard to like find a place for that mirror, but when I do, it's just the best. It is the cutest mirror in the whole game by far. And now we are moving downstairs. There are 2 dorms down here, but I figured I'd start on the kitchen, give you guys a little break from all of this dorm decorating. This kitchen space is pretty straightforward. I use the counters from Dream Home Decorator in this plain white swatch. I add these double fridges as well as double sinks. I think that's pretty realistic. It doesn't really make a difference gameplay wise, but in reality, if you were living in a dorm, I feel like you would need a lot more fridge space to like feed everyone and house everybody's food, as well as like you'd be fighting over sinks. I remember this one time when I was living in a dorm, I was trying to drain my pasta and there was like a bunch of people behind me in line to use the sink, and I spilled my pasta all over the sink and I just like almost started crying because I was so stressed out. But that was years ago and I'm over it now. But yeah, pretty simple kitchen. I also added a little coffee maker. I feel like that's realistic, as well as that board from Parenthood and a little school banner. But other than that, I keep the kitchen pretty empty, not very cluttered. I feel like that's better for gameplay. You know, in general, I tried to keep this build pretty minimal. It's definitely a lot less cluttered than my usual builds, and that's just because like if you have an entire 64 by 64 lot filled with clutter, it is gonna like take a while to load and like your game is gonna lag. At least mine is, but my computer is pretty bad, so maybe if you have a good computer it doesn't even matter. But I just felt like for gameplay I'd try to keep it a little less cluttered. But yeah, I've been working here on this sort of like main gathering space. I added a few seating areas, a television. Now I'm adding like some little dinner tables. You also may have noticed that there is a bathroom back there with some showers and stuff. I cut out me furnishing that from the speed build just because, you know, this is the longest speed build I've ever done and I wanted to keep it as short as I could, so I cut that out. But this is our 4th dorm room that we are decorating right now. It's this really fun dark purple and black color scheme that I just love. I'm using this clothing rack from the pack, which I think is a super fun addition to the game. Some clutter on the ground. I added an easel as well. I thought this person was probably an art student. I added some records on the wall. I just had so much fun decorating this build. And I love this new alarm clock that came with the pack. I think it's so cute. I paired it with these vase of flowers that came from Get to Work. It's purple and black, so it went really well. And then this here is our last dorm room. This one is very, very pink. I wanted to use this tapestry from the new pack that sort of has like this mountainscape and it's like kind of bluey and pale pink, and I thought that these Dream Home Decorator beds went perfectly with it. I used that Parenthood chair again, or wait, no, that's not the Parenthood chair, I'm a liar. That is from the high school pack, and that goes really well too. I use the new desk from the pack. I add a little bit of clutter, pink, of course. I add a few banners here as well as some pom-poms, just because I imagined that the students living in this room were probably cheerleaders. I also imagined they were probably sisters, but again, you can like play this however you want. You can make your Sims however you like. I add this cute little poster as well, and that nice little mirror that came from university. I just put it on the ground with some toiletries around. That's one of my go-to ways to decorate a teen's room or a kid's room, is to like put some makeup in front of the mirror to like give the impression that they're doing their makeup on the floor. It's a very teenage experience, I feel like. But here we are back on the outside of the build. In the back here I had some space, so I decided to add a little greenhouse moment. I used these awnings from, I want to say, Eco Lifestyle, and I put some planter boxes underneath. I also add an ant farm and an apiary box. I feel like that fits like the nature vibe that could be part of this class. I clutter it up with some debug items, some gardening tools and stuff like that, and then I add some plants in the planter boxes to make it look like they're growing stuff. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the build, so if you enjoyed it, please leave a like. This was so many hours of my life. Please, you have to. No, I'm just joking. But if you do like this build, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. Also, if you want to download this build, it is on the gallery. I will have my ID down below. Leave any questions or comments down below, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!